what's going on, everyone? Greg Ferris back here at Ferris for Fitness, and I have a quick Q&A I wanted to answer. I got this message on Facebook from Jay Sturgis, so I'm just going to read his question. This is mainly for him, and again, anyone else who kind of has this question. Sometimes I pick out these just random questions I get on Facebook or YouTube, and I think they're going to be beneficial to other people, and I'll just put them on the channel. Try to make it pretty quick and not too complicated, right? So the question is, what do you suggest to do with macros on deload weeks? Should you decrease them to maintenance or below maintenance, or just keep them the same? Any input would be appreciated, maybe a good video idea. Also, as I know many other people who wonder about this question, thanks. So, Jay, I'm going to answer your question. If you don't know, again, if you're watching this and you're not Jay, if you don't know what deload weeks are, pretty much a deload week is a fancy way of saying listening to your body. So if you're a little bit run down, if you're not really motivated in the gym, you're no longer setting PRs, sometimes it's good to decrease either your training volume, so like the amount of sets that you're doing, or the intensity, so the amount of weight, or you can do both of them. So depending on your program or how you like to go about things, you can deload different ways. Some people like to take a few days off from the gym or take a week off from the gym. It really just kind of depends on you, but that's what he means by deload weeks. You're not familiar with that. Then he just asked about how to adjust calories or macros, pretty much the same thing, on those deload weeks. So a lot of people, like I said, I'm not saying this is Jay, a lot of people when they bulk, and I've made a past kind of video about this, about not being afraid to gain a little bit of fat when you're going to bulk. Obviously you try to put on 1 to 2 pounds if you've been lifting a few years. If you just kind of new to training, maybe less than a year to a year, you'll probably get away with 2 to 3 pounds to see a little minimal fat gain, but still understand there's going to be fat gain. If you put on 20 or 30 pounds in a year, unless you just touched a weight, it's not going to be pure muscle. So people need to understand that. You're not going to be, just shredded 24, 365, right? I put up a separate video about that. I'm not going to rant again. But he asked about, on the deload weeks where you're not pushing as hard, whether you're not doing much volume or intensity, or you're just not going to the gym, should you adjust your calories? It kind of makes sense. Maybe I'm not, burning as much. Maybe I shouldn't, take in as much. But I would also like to at least present this to Jay in a different way. Ask yourself, what's the point of a deload week? Why are you taking a deload week? And you're probably going to answer the question with, I feel, run down, I'm not recovering as well, maybe some of those things, maybe it's like an injury or something like that. But the whole point, like I talked about, is a deload week is to recover, so you kind of ramp up the intensity and continue to see progress. And you're not going to recover so much especially if you're dropping your calories below maintenance. You're going to be in a deficit. And anyone who's really lost weight for a long period of time, you can recover in a deficit. I'm not saying you can't. You can still make strength gains in a deficit, but you don't recover as quickly. So the idea of a deload is to recover, and dropping your calories below maintenance is not going to help you recover it, not as fast as maintenance or being in a slight surplus, which I recommend slight surplus and not huge surpluses. So as long as if you're bulking on a reasonable intake, I don't see a reason to change that. If you're normally like a 500 to 750 calorie surplus, then yeah, you should probably not eat as much on deload weeks. But I think the problem with that is how much you're eating normally, not how much you're eating on a deload week, if that makes sense. So Jay, what I would do, unless you're just not going to the gym, unless you're just taking a week off, and I wouldn't call it a deload week, I'd call it a week off, then yeah, I would go ahead and probably decrease your carb by about 50 grams. That would probably take care of it. That's roughly about how many calories you probably burn in an intense training session. So if you're just not going to the gym, treat it as like a non-training day. Most of the people I work with, I have training days and non-training day macros. Just because if you're not burning those calories that day, there's not really a need for those carbohydrates in a sense. So, and that again is another way to kind of manipulate things so that you're not putting on so much fat when you're on a gaining phase. So if you're not going to the gym, hit 50 or shoot for about 50 less carbs than what you're normally on. But if you're just decreasing the intensity a little bit, if you're going like 80 to 90%, or if you're decreasing the volume, so maybe if you're cutting 5, 6, 7 sets off your normal routine, just keep your calories the same, keep it simple. Again, don't get so fixated with maybe you see the scale jump up a little bit too high than you'd like. Not a big deal. Just think of it in the long term. if that week helps you recover, and then you can go, another 8, 12, 16 weeks on a deload week. Maybe you put on a little bit of fat that week that was unnecessary, but in the grand scheme of things and in the months and years of your training program, it's much more important that you recover than you just stay shredded, unless you actually need to stay shredded or something. So that's my advice for Jay. Again, one last time, if you're not going to the gym, decrease your carbs by about 50 grams. And if you are going to the gym, think about it from a practical standpoint. The point of a deload is to recover. And if you're not eating as much as you normally are you really going to recover as much as you need to? And the point of it, like I said, the point of a deload is that maybe you're under recovery. Maybe you're actually under eating on your normal days. So if you actually go into a deload week and eat less, you can come out of that deload week even less recovered than you were. So that's definitely not what you want. So Jay, my recommendation for you is to just stick with where you're at. Again, don't get too fixated. You put on a little bit of weight, and that's my advice. So thank you for the good question, Jay. Again, if anyone else has relevant questions that I think can help out a large group of people, I'll definitely do this on like another Q&A or something like that. Again, check out my video coming soon. I pulled a new PR for sumo deadlifts today. My deload week is my last day of 531, so I couldn't just go out on just a 225 pull or something like that. So I cranked it up and got a new PR. So be on the lookout for that video. Again, thank you for the question, Jay. Hopefully I helped you out with this question. And that's it. Thank you for the support, and I'm out.